There's a moment in everyone's life when you look around and realize you've been choosing everyone else but yourself. You say yes when your heart screams no. You give time to people who never earned it. You sacrifice your peace for approval that never lasts. And slowly, piece by piece, you begin to disappear from your own life. Choosing yourself doesn't mean being selfish. It means being self-aware. It's understanding that you can't pour from an empty cup. It's realizing that the energy you give to others should never cost you your sanity, your growth, or your self-respect. For most of us, the habit of neglecting ourselves starts early. We're taught to please, to obey, to adjust. We learn that love means giving until it hurts. But true love, real healthy love, starts with choosing yourself first. Because only when you value yourself can you teach others how to value you. Choosing yourself means you stop apologizing for taking space. You stop chasing people who make you feel like you're too much or not enough. You stop waiting for permission to be happy. You take responsibility for your life, your boundaries, your emotions, and your growth. And the truth is, this choice is never easy. Sometimes choosing yourself means walking away from people you love. It means disappointing others to stay true to yourself. It means saying no to things that used to define you. But every time you do, you reclaim a part of your soul that you once gave away too easily. When you start choosing yourself, your world doesn't collapse, it expands. You attract people who respect your boundaries instead of crossing them. You find opportunities that align with your truth, not your fears. You begin to live with clarity, purpose, and authenticity. Choosing yourself is not a one-time act, it's a daily practice. Every morning you decide, do I honor what I truly feel, or do I betray myself to fit in? Every decision, every relationship, every step is a reflection of whether you see your worth or not. The most powerful thing you can ever do is make yourself your own priority, not because others don't matter, but because you finally understand that you matter too. And when you choose yourself every single time, you stop living to please the world and start living to fulfill your purpose. 5 keynotes of the speech, choosing yourself is not selfish, it's self-respect. You can't give your best to others if you're constantly betraying your own needs. Self-awareness is the foundation of healthy choices. Knowing what you need and why you need it helps you set boundaries without guilt. Saying no is a form of self-love. Every no to what drains you is a yes to what strengthens you. Growth requires courage to disappoint others. Sometimes staying true to yourself means letting go of people or paths that no longer align. Choosing yourself is a daily decision. Every moment is a chance to stand by your values, your truth, and your worth. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it's self-respect. This truth may sound simple, but it's one of the hardest lessons most people ever learn. From childhood, we are conditioned to believe that putting ourselves first means we're arrogant, inconsiderate, or unkind. We grow up hearing phrases like, don't be selfish, think of others, or sacrifice for love. And while empathy and kindness are essential parts of being human, somewhere along the way, we lose the ability to differentiate between generosity and self-neglect. We start thinking that to be good, we must constantly give even when it costs us our peace. But choosing yourself is not about ignoring others. It's about respecting yourself enough to know your limits. When you always put others ahead of you, you send yourself a silent message, my needs don't matter as much as theirs. Over time, that belief seeps into your decisions, your relationships, and your identity. You begin to shrink in your own life, waiting for others to notice your efforts, to validate your sacrifices. But they rarely do because people mirror what you show them. If you act like your time, energy, and feelings aren't valuable, others will treat them the same way. Self-respect begins when you decide that your well-being is worth protecting. It's about understanding that your needs are not negotiable extras. They're the foundation that allows you to show up fully in the world. Imagine a phone that's always on low battery. You can keep using it for a while, but eventually it shuts down. You can't expect your mind, heart, and spirit to keep functioning on empty either. Taking time to rest, to recharge, to say no is not selfish, it's survival. It's the act of making sure that when you give, you're giving from a place of strength, not depletion. The people who truly love and respect you will never make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. They will understand that setting boundaries, taking space, or saying no doesn't mean rejection, it means self-awareness. But the ones who benefit from your lack of boundaries will resist it. They'll call you selfish, distant, or difficult. That's the test of self-respect. It's standing firm even when others misunderstand your choices, because deep down you know your intentions are not to harm, but to heal. When you start choosing yourself, everything in your life begins to shift. You begin to notice how much energy you've wasted trying to fix people who never wanted to change. You start to see how much time you've spent trying to earn love instead of simply being yourself. You realize how often you've said yes out of guilt, fear, or obligation instead of desire. And that realization is both painful and freeing. Painful because it exposes the truth of how long you've abandoned yourself. Freeing because it gives you the power to stop. Choosing yourself is not about isolating from the world. It's about participating in it more honestly. When you respect yourself, your relationships improve because they're based on authenticity, not neediness. You stop over giving in hopes of being loved. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop trying to be everything for everyone. And instead, you start being enough for yourself. You begin to understand that love given freely loses meaning if it costs you your peace. Respect that demands your silence is not respect at all. And kindness that leaves you empty is not kindness, it's avoidance. Think about it this way. If you were to meet someone who constantly ignored their own needs to make others happy, you wouldn't admire them. You'd feel sad for them. You'd want them to rest, to stand up for themselves, to see their worth. Why then do we fail to offer that same compassion to ourselves? We wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, as if being burnout means being worthy. But what if we started measuring worth not by how much we give away, but by how deeply we honor ourselves while giving? Every time you choose yourself, you set a new standard for how others treat you. You teach people how to love you by the way you love yourself. If you tolerate disrespect, it becomes acceptable. If you ignore your needs, it becomes a pattern. But if you honor your truth, others learn to meet you at that level. You start attracting people who appreciate your boundaries instead of resenting them. You find work that aligns with your values, not just your paycheck. You live a life that feels right, not one that just looks right. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It's the purest form of self-respect. It's the courage to prioritize your peace, your purpose, and your potential over pleasing others. It's the reminder that you matter, not because of what you do for others, but because of who you are. And when you live from that space of respect, you don't just change your life, you inspire others to do the same. Self-awareness is the foundation of healthy choices. It's the quiet internal understanding of who you are, what you value, what triggers you, and what brings you peace. Without it, you move through life on autopilot, reacting, pleasing, adjusting, without ever asking, is this what I really want? Most people spend years living lives that aren't truly theirs because they never stop to listen to themselves. They chase goals that look good to others, say yes to opportunities that drain them, and maintain relationships that no longer align with who they become. But the truth is, you can't make choices that serve you until you truly know yourself. Self-awareness is not about overthinking or analyzing every emotion. It's about observing yourself without judgment. It's standing in front of your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. It's saying, I'm not happy here, or this no longer feels right, without guilt. That level of honesty takes courage because it often means unlearning what you've been taught to believe. It means admitting that the version of success, love, or happiness you've been chasing might not be yours. It might just be borrowed from someone else's expectations. When you become self-aware, you stop living reactively. You begin to pause before you respond, to question before you commit. You start to ask deeper questions. Does this choice align with my values? Does this relationship bring out the best in me or the worst? Am I doing this because it fulfills me or because I'm afraid of disappointing someone? These moments of reflection shape the quality of your life. Because the truth is, your life isn't defined by how much you do. It's defined by the awareness behind what you do. People who lack self-awareness often repeat the same painful patterns. They keep choosing the same types of relationships, the same unhealthy habits, the same cycles of burnout. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But nothing changes until you do. Awareness is the first step to transformation. You can't fix what you refuse to acknowledge. You can't heal what you won't face. When you become aware of your wounds, you gain the power to stop letting them control you. It's also important to understand that self-awareness isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. You will still make mistakes, but you'll understand them better. You'll be able to say, I acted from fear, or I ignored my intuition without beating yourself up. Awareness gives you clarity, and clarity gives you control. When you know your emotional triggers, you can pause before reacting. When you understand your strengths, you can use them with purpose. When you recognize your weaknesses, you can grow from them instead of hiding them. That's where real power lies, not in pretending to be flawless, but in knowing yourself so deeply that nothing outside of you can shake your foundation. Self-awareness also transforms the way you relate to others. You stop expecting people to read your mind or meet needs you haven't communicated. You start setting boundaries with calm confidence instead of guilt or anger. You begin to recognize when you're being manipulated or when you're giving too much. Because when you know yourself, you can see through the noise. You stop confusing attention with affection, pressure with purpose, or comfort with growth. You stop chasing temporary validation because you already understand your worth. In today's world where comparison is constant and distraction is everywhere, self-awareness is more valuable than ever. It's easy to lose yourself in the noise, scrolling through other people's lives, measuring your success by their highlight reels, doubting your path because it doesn't look like theirs. But awareness reminds you to come back home to yourself. It whispers you are not behind. You are exactly where you're meant to be as long as you're honest about who you are and where you want to go. When you're self-aware, your choices start to reflect your truth instead of your fear. You stop saying yes to things that don't serve you. You stop staying in rooms that dim your light. You stop settling for almost enough. You realize that peace is not found in having everything. It's found in having alignment. You could be surrounded by people and still feel empty if you're living a life that isn't yours. But even if you stand alone, you'll feel full when your actions match your values. Becoming self-aware is not an event. It's a lifelong practice. It's waking up every day and checking in with yourself. How do I feel? What do I need? What can I let go of? It's choosing to listen when your body tells you it's tired, when your heart tells you it's done, or when your intuition tells you something's off. It's trusting yourself enough to believe that your inner voice knows the way even when the world disagrees. Self-awareness gives you freedom, the freedom to choose with clarity, to live with integrity, and to love without losing yourself. It's the foundation of every healthy decision you'll ever make, because you can't honor yourself until you truly know yourself. And once you do, every choice you make will come from a place of truth, not fear. Saying no is a form of self-love. It's one of the simplest phrases in language, yet one of the hardest to speak out loud. Most of us grow up believing that saying no means we're being rude, selfish, or ungrateful. We learn to equate kindness with compliance and compassion with always saying yes. But the truth is, every time you say yes to something that drains you, you're silently saying no to something that could fulfill you. Saying no isn't rejection, it's protection. It's the act of honoring your time, your peace, and your energy enough to not waste them on what doesn't align with your values. People often think that love means always being available, always accommodating, always putting others first. But real love, whether it's for yourself or others, has boundaries. You cannot build a healthy life by constantly abandoning your own needs. Every time you overextend yourself to please others, you create a quiet resentment inside you. That resentment builds, it grows, and eventually it turns into exhaustion, frustration, or even self-loathing. The truth is, no one will protect your time if you don't. No one will defend your peace if you keep giving it away for free. That's why saying no is an act of love. It's the way you tell yourself, my well-being matters. It takes courage to say no because it often comes with guilt. You worry about disappointing people, losing opportunities, or being misunderstood. But the moment you stop living to be understood by others and start living to be at peace with yourself, your life begins to change. When you say no, you're not pushing others away. You're pulling yourself closer to what truly matters. You're creating space for what's meaningful, for what helps you grow, for what aligns with your soul. Think about how often you've said yes out of fear, fear of missing out, fear of judgment, fear of being seen as difficult. Those moments may bring temporary relief, but they leave lasting consequences. You say yes to a project you don't have time for, and now you're burnt out. You agree to meet someone you don't want to see, and now you're resentful. You take on responsibilities that aren't yours, and now you feel trapped. Every yes that goes against your truth chips away at your self-respect. The more you do it, the more you teach yourself that your needs are secondary. But when you learn to say no with clarity and kindness, you reclaim your power. You start showing up to life with authenticity instead of obligation. You begin to understand that you can care about others without carrying their burdens. You can love deeply and still have limits. You can be kind and still be firm. Because boundaries are not barriers, they are bridges to healthier relationships. When you communicate what you can and cannot give, you allow others to trust you more, not less. They no longer have to guess your limits or feel your hidden resentment. They know where you stand, and that honesty creates respect. Saying no also builds confidence. Every time you choose your peace over pressure, your self-trust grows. You start realizing that your worth is not defined by how much you do for others, but by how true you remain to yourself. You stop seeking validation through overachieving. You stop chasing approval from people who only notice you when you're useful. Instead, you start valuing your time as something sacred. You begin to see your energy as a limited resource meant to be invested, not wasted. The most powerful no often happens silently. It's the no you say to your old habits, your limiting beliefs, your unhealthy attachments. It's the no you whisper to the part of you that wants to settle, to please, to shrink. You say no to the patterns that keep you small so that you can finally say yes to your growth. Every boundary you set becomes a declaration of self-worth. You're not shutting people out, you're inviting yourself in. Learning to say no takes practice. The first few times it feels uncomfortable, your voice may shake, your heart may race, and doubt may whisper. What if they get upset? But remember this, people who truly respect you won't leave because of your no, they'll respect you more for it. The ones who walk away when you stop overextending yourself were never there for your authenticity. They were there for your compliance. And letting them go is not a loss, it's liberation. The beauty of saying no is that it creates space for better yeses. When you stop saying yes to everything, you have time for the things that truly move you forward. You start prioritizing your goals, your rest, your relationships, and your inner peace. You discover that your energy, when preserved and directed with intention, becomes your most powerful tool. You stop scattering yourself thin and start living with focus and fulfillment. Saying no is not rejection, it's direction. It's choosing what stays in your life and what doesn't. It's the realization that you are the gatekeeper of your own time, your own emotions, and your own energy. And when you honor that role, you begin to live from a place of wholeness rather than depletion. You start showing up not because you have to, but because you want to. And that's what self-love truly looks like in action. Growth requires courage to disappoint others. It's one of the most uncomfortable truths about becoming the person you're meant to be. We often talk about growth as something beautiful and inspiring, and it is. But what we don't talk about enough is the part where you have to let go of the expectations others have built around you. The truth is, you can't evolve while staying the version of yourself that makes everyone else comfortable. Real growth demands that you step into discomfort, even when it means being misunderstood, judged, or rejected by the very people you once sought approval from. For most of us, the fear of disappointing others is deeply rooted. We've been trained since childhood to seek validation, to be the good one, the reliable one, the pleaser. We were rewarded for compliance, not authenticity. So we learn to shape shift to say what others want to hear, to do what keeps the peace. But growth doesn't live in comfort. Growth lives in the uncomfortable moments when you have to say, this no longer feels right for me, even when others can't understand why. It's in the moments when you choose truth over acceptance, purpose over popularity, and peace over approval. When you start growing, people notice. Some will be inspired by your evolution. Others will feel threatened by it. Because when you change, it forces others to confront the parts of themselves they've been avoiding. They may label you as distant, selfish, or arrogant. Not because you are, but because you're no longer available to play the role they've assigned you. And that's where courage comes in. It takes courage to hold your ground when your choices make others uncomfortable. It takes strength to trust that your evolution is not a betrayal, even if someone else treats it like one. Disappointing others is often the cost of being true to yourself. You can't keep everyone happy without losing pieces of yourself along the way. When you grow, your boundaries shift, your desires change, your standards rise. And that naturally disrupts the dynamics that were built on your old self. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries will resist your growth. They'll want the version of you who never said no, who always showed up, who sacrificed their needs for harmony. But the truth is, you can't be both the person everyone loves and the person you were meant to become. You have to choose. Courageous growth also means facing your own guilt. You'll have moments when you question yourself, when you wonder if you're being too harsh, too different, too distant. But that guilt isn't proof that you're wrong. It's proof that you're shedding an identity that was built on pleasing others. Growth feels lonely at first because the people you outgrow often fall away before new ones arrive. But that space is necessary. It's where your new self begins to take shape. It's where you learn to stand on your own values instead of others' approval. When you give yourself permission to grow, you also give others permission to do the same. You model what it looks like to choose authenticity over comfort. You show that it's possible to love people and still not live for them. That's powerful because growth isn't just about self-improvement. It's about self-liberation. It's about freeing yourself from the invisible contracts you never agreed to but still felt bound by. It's about saying, I love you, but I can't live your version of my life. You will disappoint people when you stop playing small. You will lose some relationships when you stop pretending. But what you gain in return is worth everything: self, respect, peace, purpose, and the freedom to live in alignment with your truth. You begin to attract relationships built on authenticity rather than obligation. You start meeting people who celebrate your growth instead of resenting it. You begin to experience what it feels like to be loved for who you are, not for who you pretend to be. Courage doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you stop caring at the expense of yourself. You can still be kind, generous, and loving while being firm about your needs. You can still show compassion without abandoning your own boundaries. It's about finding that balance between empathy and self-respect. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for others is to stop enabling their comfort at the cost of your growth. When you evolve, you invite everyone around you to rise, but they have to choose that for themselves. You can't shrink to make others feel tall. There comes a point when your soul demands more from you, more honesty, more courage, more depth. At that point, staying small becomes more painful than the fear of disappointing others. That's when real transformation begins. You start speaking your truth without apology. You start walking away from what drains you. You start making decisions not out of fear, but out of alignment. And though it may cost you approval, it gives you something far more valuable: integrity. The truth is, every person who ever made a real difference in the world had to disappoint someone. Every leader, every creator, every person who dared to grow beyond the expectations placed on them had to endure misunderstanding. That's the price of evolution. You can't become who you're meant to be while trying to keep everyone comfortable. Growth asks you to let go of the need to be liked so that you can finally become someone you deeply respect. And once you taste that kind of freedom, you'll never trade it for anyone's approval again. Choosing yourself is a daily decision. It's not a one-time act of courage. It's a constant, quiet commitment to show up for yourself, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, and especially when it's inconvenient. Every day, life gives you 100 opportunities to either honor your truth or betray it. You decide whether you'll speak up or stay silent, whether you'll rest or push past your limits, whether you'll live for others' approval or your own peace. And that decision to choose yourself is what shapes the quality of your life, your confidence, and your sense of freedom. Most people think choosing themselves happens in big moments: quitting a job, ending a toxic relationship, taking a leap toward a dream. But in reality, it's built through small, repeated choices. It's in the moment you say no to something that doesn't align with your values. It's when you walk away from gossip instead of participating in it. It's when you take a break because your body asks for it, even when your mind tells you to keep grinding. It's in the decision to stop explaining yourself to people who have already made up their minds about you. Every time you do, you strengthen the bond between who you are and who you want to be. Choosing yourself daily requires awareness because the world constantly tries to pull you away from yourself. Social media tells you who you should be. Society tells you what success should look like. Family and friends tell you what's practical, what's safe, what's acceptable. But no one else can hear the quiet voice inside you, the one that knows when something feels right and when it doesn't. That voice is your compass. It doesn't shout, it whispers. And the more you listen, the clearer it becomes. The moment you start honoring it, even in small ways, your life begins to align. But this practice isn't easy. Choosing yourself will sometimes mean disappointing people. It will mean being misunderstood. It will mean stepping away from paths that once made sense but no longer feel true. There will be mornings when you doubt yourself, when fear feels louder than faith. And in those moments, choosing yourself becomes an act of courage. It means trusting that even if no one else understands your choices, you still owe yourself the truth. It means standing alone if you have to, because peace is better than pretending. The beauty of choosing yourself daily is that it transforms how you show up for everything else. When you prioritize your well-being, your work becomes more purposeful, your relationships more authentic, your energy more grounded. You stop operating from survival mode and start living with intention. You no longer chase validation because you've already given it to yourself. You stop waiting for someone to choose you because you already have. That shift changes everything. It turns your life from reactive to intentional, from chaotic to meaningful. Choosing yourself also means giving yourself grace. You won't get it right every day. Some days you'll fall back into old patterns of over-giving, over-explaining, or overthinking. But even then, self-choice isn't about perfection, it's about awareness. It's recognizing when you've drifted from yourself and gently returning home. It's forgiving yourself for past decisions made from fear and promising to do better next time. Every time you return to yourself, you strengthen your foundation. You start building a life that feels like yours, not one borrowed from other people's expectations. When you make choosing yourself a habit, you begin to notice subtle changes. You stop saying yes just to avoid conflict. You stop feeling guilty for taking time to rest. You stop chasing people who make you question your worth. You start feeling calmer, clearer, and more confident. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. You realize that peace doesn't come from controlling everything around you. It comes from trusting yourself enough to handle whatever comes your way. Choosing yourself daily also means taking responsibility for your happiness. It's understanding that no one else can fix, save, or complete you. It's your job to heal what's broken, to nurture what's growing, and to protect what's sacred. It's showing up for your goals even when motivation fades. It's taking care of your body not because you hate it, but because you love it. It's keeping promises to yourself even when no one's watching. Because that's where self-trust is built, not in grand gestures, but in consistent action. There will be days when choosing yourself looks like resting, and others when it looks like working hard. Some days it means walking away. Other days it means staying and doing the inner work. The form changes, but the essence stays the same. You're honoring your truth in that moment. And the more consistently you do it, the more aligned your life becomes. You stop chasing peace and start creating it. You stop searching for love and start radiating it. In the end, choosing yourself daily becomes less of a battle and more of a rhythm. It stops feeling like rebellion and starts feeling like alignment. It's not loud or dramatic. It's steady, quiet, and deeply empowering. It's waking up each morning and deciding, today, I will not abandon myself. And when you make that decision every single day, you start to build a life that finally feels like yours, real, grounded, and whole. Choosing yourself is the foundation of every meaningful, fulfilled, and authentic life. It's the quiet revolution that begins the moment you stop seeking permission to be who you are. Every time you choose yourself, through awareness, through boundaries, through courage, you rewrite the story of how you show up in the world. You stop living as a reflection of what others expect and start living as an expression of your truth. And while the journey isn't easy, it's the most rewarding path you'll ever walk. There will be days when the world won't understand your choices, when people will question your decisions or label your self-respect as selfishness. But remember, peace never needs to explain itself. The people meant for your life will respect your boundaries, value your honesty, and grow alongside you. The rest will fall away, and that's not loss, it's alignment. Every no that protects your peace, every boundary that honors your worth, every act of self-awareness that brings you closer to your truth is a victory, no matter how small. When you start choosing yourself, your life begins to feel lighter, clearer, and more intentional. You stop trying to earn your worth because you already know you have it. You stop fighting for love because you understand that love begins within. You start building a life that doesn't just look successful, but feels peaceful. And that's the real measure of fulfillment. Not how much you achieve, but how deeply you honor yourself while achieving it. So as you move forward, remind yourself every single day, you are not here to live by someone else's script. You are here to write your own. Choosing yourself isn't about arrogance, it's about alignment. It's about showing up for your dreams, your growth, and your truth without apology. And when you do that, when you consistently choose yourself, you stop waiting for life to happen to you and start creating it on your own terms. That is where your power begins, and that is where your freedom lives.